guys, I'm live. I'm alive. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the War Watch room, the War Room here, where I came back. I came back to my channel just because I wanted to let you know that we might be going back to war as well. But anyway, for those of you joining for the first time, Nicole Johnson-Zian reporting from Jerusalem. And today we've got a lot of news and speculation about news. So I want to be careful to say that a lot of this about whether or not the region is actually going back to war. This is there's a lot of speculation about it, but there is no announcement. There never is. Obviously, it's always a surprise. But I just want to bring you up to date with all of the clues that we are running into right now, that we see that are trickling through the media and in statements that we've heard, that there is a possibility that the region is about to flare up into another war. I mean, it's people aren't using the word imminent, which makes me happy, actually. But, I would say that's like my least favorite word in the world now because of its total abuse from the previous war, when it was imminent, an attack was imminent, and it was imminent for like 3 months. Same with, oh my gosh, before that, a ceasefire, before that, a hostage deal. Everything was imminent for months until it happened, so thereby destroying the definition of the word imminent. So anyway, nobody is saying imminent, but we actually have things that might be more solid clues than the word imminent itself in this case. But we are really looking down, I would say, the barrel of the gun. Like, it's probably going to happen now. All that being said, we've actually have 11 days in a row already of U.S. strikes on Iran. So, we're talking about like, oh yeah, the war may erupt, but there has been what I have defined here as a ceasefire war, or the ceasefire war, which is it's not, the war's off because there's a ceasefire, but there's still like fighting, and there's certain rules. Now, that was Israel and Hezbollah for the longest time. They were in the midst of a ceasefire, and yet there were daily strikes. There were many deaths on both sides. So anyway, so that continued for months until now. It's actually like a real ceasefire. Like, there's still some fighting, but we're going to get to that. Like, what does the U.S. government do? The U.S. has intervened, and the president of Lebanon was just in Washington. So there are things going on there. But right now, the ceasefire war between the U.S. and Iran is, okay, the U.S. is hitting targets in Iran for 11 days now. And Iran is retaliating by hitting countries like Kuwait, Jordan, and Iraq and Bahrain. Those are like the main ones. I think maybe UAE may have been hit a little bit, maybe Oman, Qatar, but the main ones have been Kuwait and Jordan, and then a little bit, and then also Bahrain, followed by Bahrain, and then also Iraq in some places. So this is like the allowed part of the retaliation. Now, they have come very close to hitting Israel. Now, Israel, if Iran hit Israel, I think part of the ceasefire rules would be, if a missile goes into Israel, then Israel can attack. And then there would be a further escalation. So for some reason, whatever the reason is, the Gulf states, they don't fight back. Like, Jordan has gotten blasted. They haven't fought back. So these countries aren't retaliating. Maybe, I'll let somebody else analyze that, like why they're not retaliating. And so, but as far as like, if Israel gets attacked, Israel's like probably waiting, to just finish the job, as everybody was saying back in April when the war wrapped up. So so all of this to say that it's not like there has not been activity. There's been a lot of activity, but it hasn't yet dragged the whole region. Now, there's a lot of rhetoric. There's a lot of talk about who's there's of course Trump's rhetoric, and then there's the Iranians' rhetoric, like all of their leaders and the different things that they have to say and where they're placing. Like for instance, the Iranians have said, like, if you hit our such and such, then we're going to hit an equivalent target in one of these countries, and so they said, we play eye for an eye. And then Rubio said today, well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said today, well, Trump plays a head for an eye. So every time you hit an eye, we're going to go for something bigger. We're going to go for your head. So anyway, this is what's going on. Also, the latest news before I started this live is that the latest statement from President Trump, who, as you know, goes back and forth between we're going to attack and it's going to be big, or it's going to be this and that, to like, we're in negotiations and we're going to have a deal. A deal is imminent. Like, we're on the Iranians want a deal. They're begging us for a deal, et cetera, et cetera. He just said, and again, take it for what it's worth, that he will soon be deciding on a massive strike. He said, I am considering a massive attack, bigger than ever before. I am close to making a decision. We are all set for it. So that leads us to where we are now, which is I've got a series of like things that are happening or have happened that point toward perhaps more toward war and escalation than away from it. So we'll get to those. But I do want to say hello to Marilyn and hello to Jerry. Thank you guys for joining. I've missed you guys. It's been a while. That I have not done a live. Like the thing is about doing videos, whether it's live or not live, just being on camera, like you need energy, right? You need like just a little bit of pep, make it exciting, right? And it's like zero. I got zero. Hey, another thing, by the way, speaking of energy or lack thereof, today is on the Jewish calendar is Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the month of Av. Now, this is a very important date for the Jews, because on this date, throughout history, there have been series of tragic events that have befallen the Jewish people. So, like going back to the destruction of the temples, both the first and the second. I mean, actually, get a scholar on to check me on this, but like the destruction of the temples, the Inquisition, just many things, like some major decision that led to the Holocaust. That this is the date that is associated with these tragedies. So it's a fasting day, but it's not like a religious fasting day, like that places are closed and you can't drive. It's just like the fast from sundown the night yesterday until sunset today. So the fast just ended actually right now, like about 20 minutes ago or so. So anyway, so that I guess you would think that if there would have been trouble, like also today would have been a day for that. But then again, they like to start wars on Saturday. We're all kind of like traumatized by Saturdays. So, and that's coming this weekend. Dasi is on, and Dasi just broke the fast. So I'm glad you have enough energy to join. You notice that I was talking about energy. It made me think of our conversation. So anyway, also because it was Tisha B'Av, there were many Jews that went up on to Al-Aqsa. Well, they didn't go to Al-Aqsa. They went to the Temple Mount, which is the Dome of the Rock complex, and they went up to the site. and more than 4,000 today. And of course, that's always like provocative, like toward the Palestinians, the Arabs in the region in general take that as provocation, that many would be up there. And also there were prayers. Somebody was singing the national anthem. They had Israeli flags. So, in a situation that's this tense, of course, this is pouring fuel on the fire. Now, wow, I also just today, we're talking about will there be a war, but there were actually 2 attacks today. I'm not sure if they've been considered, 100% deemed as terror attacks. Maybe one of them has. And the other one, there's still an investigation going on about whether it was a squabble between Palestinians and settlers, because the West Bank is like totally on fire right now. We're talking about war like in Iran. You're talking about that they're still fighting. There's still attacks in Gaza, and then there's still Lebanon, with Hezbollah, which is like not 100% resolved. There's still the Houthis, so there's still a lot of activity. But in the West Bank, this is also like a tinderbox, and a lot of it has to do with most recently settler harassment of the Palestinians, and so just a lot of attacks, a lot of taking over of land, terrorizing the settlers, terrorizing the Palestinians. So that could really cause like another front to flare up. So anyway, so all of these things, we're watching. So, okay, now let's get to some of the things where we're all saying like, oh my gosh. Now, I despise warmongering, and especially when I see reporters or faux reporters or the nouveau reporters who are out there, like they're influencers, they have a channel, they have a platform, they have an audience, and they just like spout news and opinion or headlines and opinion. They don't give you context, they don't explain things. I really despise that. And so I will tell you, warmongering is a great way to grow your platform, but it's not necessarily an accurate portrayal of what's happening. So now I am not warmongering in this case, but I'm telling you that today, being very skeptical about war and war breaking out and stuff like that, suddenly like I sat up and I was like, wait a second, there's too many things going on right now that cannot be ignored. First of all, Israel today, 27 cities and other local authorities around the country decided to open their public bomb shelters. So suddenly went from nothing. There's no change in the home front command directives. There's nobody saying like, oh, we're moving from level 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or whatever. Nobody's getting, they're not restricting gatherings. They're not canceling things. But suddenly 27 municipalities just decided to open their public bomb shelters. So why is that? Are they getting some information that we don't know about? Okay, Britain and France have both withdrawn their staffs from their embassies in Iran. So that's going on. Now, first of all, why were they there? Like, since when, between April and now, did they go back and go into their offices? Like, I don't know. I missed that. We've been watching for weeks the increased military buildup by the U.S. in the region. There was the big story here for the past couple of weeks was that the U.S. military refueling planes are taking up slots at Ben Gurion Airport. So that's causing delays, which we were in a delay once because of that. It's causing cancellations. Like they were saying in the summer that there could be hundreds of cancellations, that up to thousands, because there was not enough room. And at this point, now we were thinking. Now, when I saw the planes there, it was end of May, beginning of June. Tons of the jets, they're all over. Like, it looks like Ben Gurion Airport, which is a civilian airport, looked like a military base, but a U.S. military base in Israel. So that they are still there, and then more were coming. So they have now sent some over to the airport in Eilat to free up Ben Gurion, and all, I mean, smart move considering we're all going to want to make an exodus after this. But okay, so the you've got the military build up. So it's not just the refueling jets, planes. They have the bombers coming in again. I don't know about the Navy, but they are apparently still in the like blockading the Hormuz, the blockade within the blockade that's going on over there. So all of that. So U.S. military builds up in the region. So that's another thing that's making us look like, okay. Then today, I'm still being skeptical, right? And then I see a quote from a Knesset member I don't think he's in the security cabinet or anything like that. And he says, we all know that we are heading for an attack in Iran, maybe even this weekend. And I was like, what? Like, you're getting a little specific on that. And then another one, this was in Yediot Achronot. Somebody was writing that a senior political figure told him that Prime Minister Netanyahu purposely set the primaries for his party to be on Monday. Like they were supposed to be, I think last week, there was already one party that had a primary, but he set it for next week on Monday because he knows it will not be possible, because he said they're expecting the security situation to flare up. Another Knesset member, Nissim Vaturi, said a few days ago something a lot of people have very sarcastically been saying, but now it's been said by a politician. He said 250 years for the United States will end, the World Cup will end, and then we will probably return to the campaign. I think there will be a difficult campaign against Iran. So anyway, so there you go. So you've got like several things are lining up. The military has not changed the home front directives, but they have said that they are prepared for anything. They're at high alert. They've got the Air Force is on high alert. I also heard that some Iron Domes are being moved into different positions, and also the people who are like the reservists, some of them have been either called back or not able to leave as previously planned. So anyway, so those are some of the little clues that we have that perhaps there is something on the horizon quicker than we thought. Okay. Okay, so this is a comment from Joel. As the prayers on the Temple Mount started last evening, the Schumann resonance went completely white. This means there was a massive spike in mostly undetectable energy in the earth. It's rare. What is the Schumann resonance? I never heard of that. That's something cool to look up later. Okay, I want to know what this means. Shed more light on this for me, Joel. That is very interesting. Yes, so there were thousands of people at the Western Wall last night, praying, and again tonight. And wow, today would have been a bad day to go to the Old City driving. That's for sure. There would have been a lot of people. Hi, Roy and Mary. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Okay, so now you think we're done? No, we got so much more. Let me go back to now. We talked a little bit about I mentioned the Houthis in passing, but the Houthis, you guys know where they are. They're the terror group, quasi funded and supported by Iran, but kind of independent as well. But they are the unrecognized government in Yemen right now. They had, before any of these recent wars, there was a massive war with Saudi Arabia, and humanitarian catastrophe, famine, just really bad what was going on in Yemen. But anyway, there's still tension between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis, though the war has simmered down in lieu of other wars. But recently, the Houthis, who respond to Iran's directives, like Iran, says, join the war, fire some missiles at Israel, and they do. But what they did lately, and I got to open a map. Oh my gosh, I have another thing that another clue as to like that there could be a war soon have been all the U.S. warnings to not travel outside. Like somebody said, one is to not. Sorry, I'm looking at this. Not travel outside the country. I haven't necessarily heard that, but outside of the U.S. But there have been a lot of travel warnings for this region. Okay. Joel says, I mentioned the Av 9th Schumann resonance energy spike to Hollard. He was confused as I was. Okay. We got to all look that up and see what that is. I also want to say hi to Sophia and also to Miriam. Thank you guys for joining. All right. So now, guys, we're going to go to the map because we have to see what's going on in the region. Now, you guys know about the Strait of Hormuz. Like, for sure, you would. Let's go look at Hormuz. And we know that this is blocked, and we know that this is causing like a lot of the issues here. And this is right, here's Iran, and then you've got all these Gulf states right here, right across. Can you imagine they're right across from me? Everybody can see you in the reflection, Raya.
You want to see my charger? Can I show them my charger?
You can show them your charger. Guys, this live is sponsored by Bedazzled by Raya. And so right now we're going to have to, hold on, let me stop. I know you guys are like, you came here for news, and wait a second. Okay, go ahead.
Look, I bedazzled flowers on them.
That's.
And here, and okay. Going to make s'mores. Bye.
All right. Okay. And now back to our regularly scheduled news. Okay. Here we go. Yes, that is probably the best news. The best news is that the Bedazzle kit, if it doesn't get scattered as it was the other day by our cat, who made a beeline from here like a psychopath running across and knocked an entire tray of thousands of Bedazzle beads all over the house. Like, to this day, like it went in drinks, it went in like, it fell everywhere. Like, to this day, oh, right here, there's a Bedazzle bead right here next to me. There's two right next to me. Like, that is like, so if war does break out, we can Bedazzle as long as the cat doesn't act like a missile and knock it over. So anyway, okay, we'll Bedazzle the missiles. Who ever heard of Bedazzle? Like, this is I guess a trend or a fad. I've only been made aware of recently. Okay, so look, here's the Strait of Hormuz. So lots of oil and energy and other shipping comes out of here, over here. But then here is Yemen, where the Houthis are, and right over here is another strait. Over here is called the Bab el-Mandab Strait. So the Houthis have decided to put a, your time on commercials is done. You're not paying enough of ad time to keep interrupting. She just set a marshmallow on fire. Okay, so now they want to block that. They have decided to blockade the Bab el-Mandab Strait, which is the Red Sea. And this is where Saudi Arabia is getting its stuff exported. This is where they can export by sea. And also you've got Egypt, you've got Israel. This ends right up here at Israel, and like Israel's border, the city of Eilat. So this is, if you look at the region now, this is blockaded and this is blockaded. So all of the countries here, except for Oman, all of the countries here cannot get their stuff out. They don't have other access. Israel obviously could still use the Mediterranean. Egypt probably as well. I don't really know what their shipping routes are, but Saudi Arabia boxed in, Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE. Qatar could probably do whatever it wants, but they probably, well, the US is there too, blocking. So I don't know what their deal is with them. So anyway, as you can see, this is a big deal. So a big deal with the Houthis, to be able to be blocking that, and so they are back to having tensions with Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, then that brings us to Saudi Arabia, which it was just announced. Trump announced that they have agreed to allow Saudi Arabia to develop a weapon or their nuclear weapon. So Saudi Arabia can go nuclear. I'm going to get off on a tangent on this, but the reaction in Israel was just utter shock. Like, how could they let them do that when in the past they have conditioned it upon making peace with or having a normalization agreement with Israel? But this was not conditioned on anything. It was just, here, have the weapon. And then 24 hours later, Trump posted on social that he said this is a preconditioned on, that they're going to join the Abraham Accords, which are the normalization agreements between many of the Gulf states and two of the Gulf states, also Morocco, and some other countries, but that it's the normalization with Israel. So now Saudi Arabia, I haven't heard a response yet. And also, one of the articles that I read, Trump hasn't spoken to MBS about this. So, who is Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia? He hasn't spoken to him since that announcement. So it's what happened was this deal that came out. It really came out of the blue. I think it first was announced. Was it in the Wall Street Journal or so, that they're going to have this? Allow, like, there's a civilian nuclear deal between the US and Riyadh. It's already signed. And then later, 24 hours later, but they have to join the Abraham Accords, which would mean that they have to recognize Israel. Now, Saudi Arabia has historically not recognized Israel because they want they want to condition their recognition of Israel on the establishment of a Palestinian state. And they said, we will not abandon our Palestinian brethren. But Israel and the Saudis have a cooperation already, though it's like, I don't want to say clandestine, but it's, they're not necessarily normalized in public, but Saudi agreed to let Israel use its airspace for civilian aircraft, flying from Israel to the UAE and Bahrain, and a lot of business interaction and things like that. But as far as taking the step to normalize diplomatic ties, it has always said, but first there must be a Palestinian state established, and then we will recognize Israel. And so now Trump says, it's almost like, I don't know how this is going to play out in the Saudi, political arena, but Trump saying, here's yeah, we're going to make a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, and then nothing. And you should have seen, because it's campaign season here in Israel. The Knesset is done, and now we're in campaign season until late October. And so, of course, all of the opposition was saying, like, this is another failure of the government to show that now Saudi Arabia is getting weapons without even owing us anything, without giving us anything, whatever. And now it's all turned around, like, in 24 hours. And now it's like, oh no, Trump was like, oh yeah, they're going to recognize. And let me see if I have the exact quote of Trump. Not this. Okay, I don't have I don't have his quote. But it's nothing exciting. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna, like they have to join the Abraham Accords. Joining the Abraham Accords means automatically we recognize Israel, and then by doing that, now they're gone is the precondition. So it was just like also like a political kerfuffle here in Israel, like flared up for 24 hours, and but now it'll be interesting to see what happens in like with the Saudis. I haven't heard any response on that yet. Okay, so but sticking with the Saudis and the Houthis, you have to see what's going on. So you see how basically all of the waterways surrounding the Gulf and the Middle East are blocked now. The Houthis have their blockade. The Houthis are actually attacking ships in the Red Sea. They attacked two Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea. That was Thursday that they said that. So, all right, so that's going on. Iran-backed Houthis say they attacked oil tankers. And let me see, 12% of the world's trade, including a fourth of global container traffic, passes through the Narrows, moving between Europe and Asia via Egypt's Suez Canal. So the Bab el Mandab Strait is actually where 12% of the world's trade goes through. So, wow, I wonder how much Hormuz is, because then we're talking like, we're getting up there in numbers, right? Okay, so now you've got this going on. The Houthis really are attacking Saudi ships. Here's another article. I have more ships avoiding Red Sea gateway after fresh Houthi threats. That's the 22nd. That's already old news because today's the 23rd. But still, so 4 tankers changed course in the Red Sea on Wednesday, with 2 signaling the Suez Canal as their new destination after Yemen's Houthi rebels warned ships to avoid sailing to Saudi Arabian ports. So I guess they have to, say, okay, we're going to Egypt, not Saudi Arabia. So we're going to go that way, not that way. Yeah. Somebody here said that, oh my goodness. No, I don't want one. Raya has like 12 marshmallows in her hand. This is the perfect before bed snack. Okay. The threat of Houthi hostile actions against Saudi Arabia has begun to have an overall effect on tanker activity, said a shipbroker. So anyway, so keep your eyes on that. Here's another article by Reuters. Iran flew IRGC, that's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, commanders, military advisors, and missile and drone related equipment into Yemen this month, according to sources, in a move that suggests Tehran is seeking to strengthen the ability of its Houthi allies to threaten Red Sea shipping. So this looks like, and this was just published today, it looks like really this is what is going on is definitely Iran's stranglehold on the Gulf region, all the way, from the UAE and Kuwait, Bahrain, and all the way across to Yemen. Well, Yemen is with them, but then up to Saudi Arabia. So if that's the case, it's going to have repercussions for the whole world because of the massive amounts of shipping and energy, oil that moves through both of these access points, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el Mandab Strait. So this is definitely going to be on the agenda. Again, probably another reason that we may see escalation. But if we do see the U.S. escalating in terms of saying, okay, we need to break the stranglehold, then you will also see the freshly equipped Houthis escalate, and along with Iran. So that will be interesting, and they might also go after Saudi Arabia I'm just speculating. And then it would be interesting to see how Saudi responds, because nobody responded in the last one, in the last round. Like none of the Gulf states, just pretty much Israel. Now there were things that came out like that possibly the UAE retaliated a little bit secretly, against Iran, but it wasn't publicized during the war, and probably like on purpose. Okay, so some comments, and hi Walter, from Joel. King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud of Saudi Arabia is 90 years old. He's weak. If he's actively dying, will MBS change Saudi Arabia's course on the Abraham Accords? Well, that's a great question. I don't know if that's what's holding him back. If it's that's great. I actually, it's a great question. I actually don't know if it's his that's his, I assume his father, if that's what's holding him back from that, and if that's his father's policy. Good question. Interesting. Let's see. But maybe he'll change his mind to maybe it's the withholding of nuclear weapons that Trump says you must do this or you won't get your nuclear. Maybe that's what will change his mind. Okay, and Joel says MBS savvy businessman and a personal friend of Jared Kushner. Trump seems to be enticing the Middle East into developing business together. War hasn't worked. Why not sell joint commerce? Well, I think that was the goal of the Abraham Accords, and you saw it happening. But then there was COVID, and then there was October 7th, and it all blew up. No pun intended, or clearly intended, not by me, but it was. Yeah, it just went to pot because you had great cooperation. You had dynamic business back and forth. You had the Saudis, even though they were not in the Abraham Accords, but they were all in anyway. And even, during some of the recent, during this time of war, also, the Kazakhstan joined the Abraham Accords, which was rather random. And I think Kosovo did. I think. Check me on that. South Sudan, and we don't know if they're still in or not. Anyway, very interesting. Okay, so business was on the agenda, and then October 7th really changed everything. Now, I think that Trump would make a deal with Iran and make great business deals with Iran if he could, but the Iranians don't want that. Like, I'm pretty sure that, their specific theology that runs the regime, they don't want necessarily to be in on it's not business that makes them tick. It's their specific theology. But I believe Trump would do it. And I think that was what you did see by the development of the Abraham Accords. And even just to go on a total tangent, the deal where he had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia make a peace deal. And that was also surrounding, again, commerce. They said that there's this disputed land, or it's not disputed, actually, it's Armenia, but Armenia separates Azerbaijan from an enclave that it has, and because they don't have diplomatic relations, a 20-minute drive, or like an hour drive, they would have to go up around, and then through Turkey, and then get to that enclave. So Trump basically negotiated a road that they would be allowed to access, that it would be run by the US, but it would be on the border, on Armenia's southern border, and it would allow Azerbaijan to get to its enclave and then on to Turkey. But if you zoom out, you will see that they could also get to the Caspian Sea. And on the other side of the Caspian Sea is Kazakhstan, which just joined the Abraham Accords after that deal. And so then you would have like this unbelievable commercial corridor that would go from Central Asia all the way to Europe. And so this 27-mile border is what's stopping it. And so anyway, so Trump and his deals, exactly. I think I've missed a bunch of comments, but I love this one. Sophia says, I love sparkly stuff. So Sophia, if we're all bunkered down, you can come over here and bedazzle, bring something to bedazzle. Walter asked, could it lead to ground troops in Iran? Okay, I don't know the answer to that. However, since we are having a lot of speculations tonight, I will throw in this. I have seen many comments coming from Iranian officials referring to a potential US ground invasion. And I'm like, US is not talking about that. The US has not spoken about that, nor do I think that many Americans would be in favor of that. I think they'd be opposed to that. But Iran has referred to it more times recently than in the war itself. So I wonder about that as well. And this, it looks like it's something the Iranians are either they are speculating wildly or they have some kind of intel on that. So I don't know. That is a great question. Um, let me see. Oh my gosh, another good question. Could attacking the nuclear sites lead to ground troops? Oh, it is like more of, okay, you're asking about ground troops again, but let's talk about the nuclear site, because have you guys heard of this Pickaxe Mountain, which is like a different mountain name in every language, but this is where Iran has, let me see where I have notes somewhere on this. It's 100 meters deep. That's like, I guess, 300 feet beneath a mountain near the city of Natanz. And it's not enriched. Well, let me see. Now, this is all according to Israeli intelligence, but it has determined Iran moved thousands of uranium-enriched centrifuges into tunnels deep within the mountain last fall, following, do you guys remember the 12-day war in June of last year? If accurate, this represents a significant acceleration of Iran's path to reviving its nuclear program, one that both the U.S. and Israel believed was effectively dead and buried. Or did they really think it was dead and buried? Okay, so this is a mountain or a facility that's been under construction since 2020. And so whatever had been damaged or destroyed in the past above ground, now they were going to be moving that underground. And so now this is this mountain. So Trump last week finally mentioned it, and he said Pickaxe is a possible target for a nice big fat shot right near the front door. We're going to take out Pickaxe Mountain. Tell the Iranians to be ready. So he said that I think according to U.S. intel, there's not necessarily activity at the site, but Washington would probably give Pickaxe a shot relatively soon. So anyway, there you go. So does that mean that this is going to lead to a ground invasion? I don't necessarily know if they do that and they go in. I mean, honestly, like that would be crazy, because you're so cut off from a launch pad. Unless they use Azerbaijan and they go in from the north, or unless President Trump just had the president of Iraq in Washington, and they were very chummy. So maybe they use Iraq as a launch pad, Azerbaijan, the UAE is across the Strait of Hormuz. So I don't know if they would do that. Okay, Mike says, I think if they do get the mountain with missiles and the last of nuke materials, there may be a ground invasion, or on a limited ground invasion. Okay, wow. So interesting that you guys are sensing this, or even like talking about it, asking about it. I think that goes to show that maybe this is something that is being bandied about. Jerry says, thanks, Nick, for all this news and information. Helps us understand when we're not all in the know regarding the politics of the war with Iran. Yeah, listen, and it's a lot of digging and a lot of verifying, and I when all's said and done, like I hope it's right, but like I said, a lot of this is speculation, but not warmongering, that's for sure. Um, okay. Um, oh, Mike says the bunker bombs can't reach it, Pickaxe Mountain. Well, it's 300 feet down. That's crazy. Okay. Yes, that's probably the case. Yes, Trump would allow them to know when they attack to catch Iran off guard. Uh-huh. Okay. Um, right. And that's why, in the past, when I always like make fun of the imminent, the word, using the word imminent, and then what happens is they say, attack, 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 and they're like, oh no, we're deep in negotiations, we're going to make a deal in the next 24 hours, and then boom, they attack. So anyway, okay, if attacked horribly by Iran, this is Joel, which Middle East country would send in ground troops first and lead the fight? Oh wow. Okay, so that is a good. I don't know the answer. I first of all, I don't think Israel would, only because kidnapping Israeli soldiers in Iran would be like disastrous. I mean, even and Americans too. But of course, Israel has experience with that, so probably Israel would not. But I don't know how strong these armies are in the Gulf. Like if you're talking about like the surrounding countries, why not send Syria? If Trump wants to send the Syrian troops to deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon, why not send them to Iran? I mean, they have been going through systematically slaughtering specific people groups in Syria. Why not send them there? I think they're not on good terms. So now what I will do based on this question, I want to look more into Kuwait. Not to say that Kuwait is going to have any reason to send in ground troops. I don't know what the status is of their army or anything. But I will say that they have been attacked very badly in this round and have suffered a lot of damage. Part of the reason for that is that they host American army bases, and one of Iran's threats is if you are hosting American bases or assets, we're going to go after you. Now that's why U.S. soldiers have been killed in Jordan and Iraq, because they were killed on bases there. So I can't see. I don't know. Also, like the UAE, what kind of army do they have? Do they have like? I don't know the status of their army. I don't know how strong. I don't know if they have the ability to send ground troops. They were attacked very badly during the last round, and there wasn't much of defensive response or offensive response to that. So, good questions. I mean, I don't know, but the scary thing is we're all thinking like this actually about ground troops. Like right now, it's just been from the air and missiles. So the only place where it's been ground troops is with Israel in Gaza and in Lebanon. And so that is and that yeah, and the Hezbollah, I mean those wars are disastrous, like very dangerous for both sides. um the Israel has a strong army, but they lost a lot of soldiers in Gaza. I think they lost almost 1,000 soldiers in Gaza, and they lost dozens in Lebanon. And so yeah, it would just like anyway, what's happening now. I did want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Lebanon. Yeah, and so Walter's asking, UAE is their military not really strong? I really don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like I'm not an expert on these other countries. Not that I'm expert on any of them, but I would definitely say I have a lot of catching up to do with these other countries, like with the Gulf states and what their militaries are like. I mean, you know, their economies, you know, their governments and their systems and things like that. Like they're usually, they're somewhat like monarchies, they're oil wealthy. Most of these countries have a population of foreign workers, being like 90% in some countries. I think in the UAE, foreign workers make up like 90% of the population. Also in Bahrain, it's a high percentage. In Oman and Qatar, and possibly Saudi Arabia. So in many of these countries, there are more foreign workers than there are citizens of the country. So in that sense, like maybe it's hard to recruit and get an army. Maybe they are more focused on air forces and defensive systems than they are actual ground invasions. So I don't know. But that's I definitely want to check, and I definitely want to check into Kuwait because they are getting attacked big time, and they're also very defiant. Their language is very defiant against Iran. Surprisingly, I mean, not that I know them that well, and I know to say like, "Oh, I'm so surprised you're defiant," but harsh rhetoric. So great. Let's, you know what, when we regather, let's all come with our information. Okay, so let's just touch a little bit on Lebanon because what's happening there is really historic in many ways. President Trump just hosted the president of Iran, and let's see, we got a picture here of here he is, Joseph Ayoun. He was, oh, this is before he met him. I opened an older article. So he met with President Trump. It was a great meeting. Again, very chummy. They had a great conversation. And if you guys may have watched the press conference, but Trump said a few things. He said what he said first of all, oh, let me show you this part. I mean, he like Ayun complimented him on something, and he goes, "Oh, this guy knows how to get to me. Now I'll give him anything he wants." So here we go. This is the two of them at the White House, and President Trump announced that he has directed his administration to allow U.S. airline carriers to fly directly to Lebanon so that Americans can easily visit this beautiful land. So this was like right after the meeting. They decided, he just made that announcement. And so there have been no U.S. flights since 1985. Here's the information: when a TWA airliner was hijacked by Lebanese Islamic militants, with one U.S. Navy diver murdered and dozens of U.S. nationals held hostage for more than 2 weeks. So Lebanon is getting on board with the whole Western. With just with the Western, I don't know, like bandwagon, I guess, and how that's impacting the region. The U.S. Has been able to get at least the ambassadors of both Israel and Lebanon that are ambassadors to the U.S. to meet together. So they've hosted them now. They hosted in Washington 3 times, I think, and then in Rome. And now there's going to be another meeting. And all of this was going on while the war between Israel and Hezbollah was carrying on. Like Iran was ceasefired and quiet, but they were still carrying on, and the Israeli troops are in Lebanon. And so now the U.S. has also come up with a pilot program. There's a lot of facets going on. It's hard to explain in just like one sentence. There's like Israel, they want Israel to withdraw, but Israel will not because Hezbollah is there. And so the U.S. has come up with this plan that they will have the Lebanese military take over the towns and villages that Israel has like sterilized. So they will go in and guard and occupy that, and Israel will withdraw. So they're working on one specific town this week where Israel is handing it over to the Lebanese army, and the hope and the goal is that then they will be able to disarm Hezbollah, get their weapons, and so then Israel will not be threatened. And then, but by the way, most of the Lebanese also want Hezbollah to be disarmed. So so this is the plan that the U.S. has proffered to the U.S. and Lebanon. Now, so Trump met with Ayoun, the president. The president has gone back. He's presenting the plan, and now it's happening. There's the handover from the Israeli military to the Lebanese, and it's going to be over a phased period of time. It's town after town, but what, of course, now I'm thinking, like, if the war with Iran escalates, then what's going to happen there? Because then the Lebanese army will suddenly be in the crosshairs of Hezbollah, because they'll be, in those villages between Hezbollah and Israel. And then what? Like, will then Lebanon join the war? And then will they be joining it like on Israel's side? And not that they don't yet have diplomatic ties with Israel, though there are negotiations going on. So like, they wouldn't necessarily want to join on Israel's side, but they can't necessarily not take America's side. So it's very complicated. It's a very sticky situation, and don't yet know where that goes. Now, last but not least, let us just look at the U.S. travel advisory map. There's a lot of red in my region. Okay, you see this? I love this. Travel advisories. Let's just skip down to orange. Okay, let's just skip these other colors because they're irrelevant for us. Level 3, reconsider travel. Another level 3 contains areas with higher security risks. And level 4, do not travel. Now, I mean, obviously, Russia is just taking up a lot of space here, but let's zoom in on the region. There's a lot of do not travel. Right now, they have said do not travel. Obviously, Iran, they have said do not travel to Syria. And now here we go with, you've got Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia contains areas with higher security risks. Kuwait is only reconsider travel. They're getting bombs like crazy, and they're saying only reconsider. Qatar and the UAE, again, bombs like crazy. What about Bahrain? We can't even see it. Oh, look, you have to zoom in. It's Bahrain's like the marker is always bigger than the poor islands. I mean, I love it. I've been there. I think Bahrain is an amazing country. I would totally go back, by the way. I absolutely loved it there. But it's really small. Oh, but look at this. They're saying reconsider travel. And they're saying that the security risk in Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Israel is greater than in those countries that are so close to Iran. I don't know. It's crazy. All right. And then Yemen, big no, don't travel. This here, what is this, Sudan? I don't know. And then, by the way, there's like Somaliland is over here somewhere. And Somaliland is the country that Israel is the only country in the world to have recognized. And now you can see why that's important, because and I don't even think they're on this map here, but because the US doesn't recognize Somaliland, but Somaliland is right across from Yemen. So now you understand why Israel did this out of the blue thing, which was to recognize a country that nobody ever heard of and didn't even know needed to be recognized. But they did that because they're right across, like they're right across from the Houthis in Yemen. And now the Bab el-Mandab Strait is right up there in the news, right up there with Hormuz. So anyway, so let's see. Another comment here. Mike says, yeah, right, the army is going to keep terrorists out of places they don't have the brains and can't think that, the terrorists, what happened to Hezbollah being in the actual government? They are still in the actual government. Hezbollah is still in the actual government, and Hezbollah is better armed and more than the what do you call it, than the Lebanese army itself. Hezbollah is better armed than the Lebanese army itself. So anyway, and they do have members of Hezbollah still in the government, including, I think, the prime minister. There's like three. There's always like a Shia, a Christian, and a Sunni as the three heads of state, and one of them is a Hezbollah proponent, at least. So anyway, yes, they're still in the government. And no, you're saying Trump recognized Somaliland? I don't think so. You know what? I think it still is only Israel. Oh, wow, it just kicked me out. I can't type, guys. I'm like, Somali. My computer is hot. It's been so hot out. Okay. No, wait, when asked about recognizing the breakaway region, Trump responded with no. Does anyone know what Somaliland really is? And the answer is no, until Israel recognized it. And we all went, oh, should we pay attention? Okay. By the way, Rubio, I love it. One quote from Rubio: "These lunatics should not be in charge of a nuclear bomb." That was fun. And and the Houthis responding to a threat from Trump with their own threat, which is, in the event of any American aggression, we will respond decisively against the ships and against all interests of the United States wherever our missiles can reach. Our goal is clear. As long as the siege on Yemen is not lifted, we will continue to strike at Saudi Arabia's interests. We will not hesitate to strike any country that cooperates with Saudi Arabia. We fear no one, and all we seek is the removal of the economic and political siege on Yemen. Guys, we have just a whirlwind of connections and allies and enemies, and it's just a hot mess here, and literally hot, by the way, over here. So anyway, I have come to the end of so much stuff, and I didn't even get to how the Knesset ended its session. I didn't even get to the crocodiles that are going to be now guarding security prisons in Israel. I will do a separate video on that. I promise. I must do that. And the Israelis who are on a near daily basis crossing into Syria because they are determined to settle the land of Syria and make that part of Israel. So anyway, crazy things going on, a lot of crazy things going on, but I got to end it for now. And anyway, thank you all for joining. This has been very fun and invigorating. And check back in a couple days, because let's see if the weekend war really happens as some are apparently predicting. Anyway, thank you so much. Good evening or good day, wherever you are. And ciao. Catch you next time. Bye.